be part 2 of going into depth about the 4th historical turning and the patterns that come with it. Therefore, if you didn't go watch part 1, be sure to go watch that, or else literally none of this is going to make any sense to you. Anyway, let's get on with the crisis. And hopefully getting over what we learned last episode was the hump that our generation must face. Anyway.
Hard rain's gonna fall, means something's gonna happen.
At about the midpoint of the 4th turning is here, the author maps our crisis in relation to historical 4th turning patterns. The book is called The 4th Turning is Here, What the Seasons of History Tell Us About How and When This Crisis Will End.
I thought we said that it was going to end in 2033.
And here we have 2 timelines. The timeline of our previous 4th turning,
well,
the
that's
World
what it
War
said on the
II
video.
crisis, and of our current millennial crisis. As we fill in these timelines, we get an idea of where we currently are in our crisis and get an idea of what may be coming based on the patterns of our previous history blocks.
Jesus.
I don't want to be an egg donor.
Is that an ad?
Yes.
When you can skip that, push arrow back 2 or 3 times.
You should keep that freak out in the video.
A 4th turning is preceded by a precursor that occurs towards the end of the previous 3rd turning.
Which was 9/11. Probably.
The precursor event shows that while our society may be unraveling, we still have the chutzpah to meet a national challenge.
AKA the Revolutionary War.
The precursor to the World War II crisis was the U.S. involvement in World War I.
World War I, okay.
The country was against it, but once we went in, the country supported it.
Well,
the precursor to our
sort of
millennial crisis
Iraq,
was the 9/11 attacks
see, I was right.
and our subsequent involvement in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. According to the book, a precursor briefly foreshadows the mood of the coming crisis era by showing how a society aware of its own weakening civic instincts can still galvanize and rise up to meet a new challenge.
You're right. His underlining is terrible.
A catalyst
it is making me uncomfortable.
That marks the beginning of the 4th turning. The catalyst puts us in crisis mode. We see the catalyst coming, but we don't prevent it. When the catalyst arrives, we fall into a mood of pessimism and paralysis. The catalyst that began the World War II crisis era was the 1929 stock market crash. The Great Depression followed.
Is ours going to be
catalyst
COVID?
that began our crisis
that's 10 years.
was the 2008
the housing
financial
crisis.
1939 was 10 years before World War II.
Savannah, stop it for a second.
Pausing.
Do you understand the whole financial crisis of 2008?
Yes.
Basically, where I think it hit us the hardest was in the housing market, where the banks allowed people to buy multiple homes without putting any money down. So you had...
See, the idea of being able to purchase something without paying for it just baffles me.
What's the point of a loan?
Right. But
I'm sorry, I was raised under the Dave Ramsey, you don't buy anything unless you can pay for it in cash.
Well, the problem with that was, Savannah...
You can't do that. It's not reality in today's world.
Well, right. But in general, if you don't have any buy-in to it, if you don't have any of your own, money into it, then it's so easy to walk away.
Well, look at now. What is it with filing bankruptcy? I think, what is it? Today, I think the average credit card debt is around 25K.
Good Lord.
For America, I believe, right now. But, I mean, look at this is how America runs. We're 3-something trillion in debt, right?
Are we really running, or are we just sort of trying to put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound?
I think you're trying to put a Band-Aid on a lost limb is what you're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do.
Like,
it's not a bullet wound. It's a limb that's missing.
Hello Kitty Band-Aid.
I think a limb or the head is completely severed, and we're trying to put a Band-Aid on it.
I love it. It's great.
Well,
nice.
Well,
Human
but what happened
ingenuity
back
at
then,
its
Savannah,
finest.
in our own neighborhood that we lived in, people were
In
able
Florida.
to buy multiple homes. Investors were doing this without putting anything down. And then all of a sudden...
Shame.
Well, they lost their job.
Well, right. And then all of a sudden people were walking away from all of these homes that basically... And it
you
it
still
caused the
see
market
like
to
all
totally
those big
crash.
mansions, like back when we lived in Virginia, you know, all those mansions that were up there that were all abandoned, or was I just a part of those Facebook groups that talked about them?
No, I don't remember that. I just remember the impact that it did to our neighborhood in that all of a sudden you had all these homes that were totally, completely empty all of a sudden. No one was paying the rent or the mortgage. And so because of that, they were willing to rent it to anybody. And government came in and started doing things where they would like subsidize people. If you're willing to rent a house, they would subsidize it. So the person might be paying $200 and then the government was paying them like $1,300 or $1,400 to get them to, you know, a $1,500-ish mortgage.
Well, no, the stimulus check thing was it was just like COVID. You only got a certain amount, but what the whole point of the stimulus thing was to bail out the bank.
Oh, well, right. It bailed out the banks, but they were the ones who made the bad decisions.
Because the banks are the ones that made the bad decisions, but because
Savannah, they gave loans to people who
Yeah.
totally should not have been able to get them.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. So I just
that's the
Trying
problem.
to be inclusive, Mom. Stop going after them. They were trying to make sure everybody had an equal playing field, equal outcome.
Because they were stupid. I mean, because
But
the
again,
banking industry was absolutely
look
stupid.
at
That's
this
why
though.
this happened.
But look at this. That happened in the 20s. It might not have been the exact same causation, but in 1929, they had the Great Depression. In 2008, we had our kind of thing, and we're still going from the 2008. We've been pushing it down the road because now we just print money for no reason. But it's coming to bite us right now. That's why inflation's up so much.
Right.
So,
well, that's because everything costs 10 times more than it. I mean,
correct.
Our electric bill, our water bill, everything is.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
I can't even compare the numbers between last year versus the year before versus just 10 years ago what all of that stuff was.
It's insane.
Okay, I'm sorry. It just makes me angry about what the bankers got away in the financial crisis. I mean, they did. They totally did illegal stuff and got away with it.
That's because they run the country.
Oh,
that's the Fed. The Fed is run by the banks.
Like if we tried to do any of the things that the banking industry tried to do.
Yeah. You get your taxes are off by a freaking penny and you go to jail, but they lose millions upon millions of dollars and it's just an accounting error. Oopsies! Anyway, can we unpause this?
Okay, fine.
That line needs more paint.
During a regeneracy, people start to get pissed off and politically active.
Oh, nice.
People begin to organize themselves into groups. Political groups.
The last 10 years.
Racial groups. Class groups.
BLM.
Ideological
Democrats,
groups.
Republicans.
Proud Boys.
Regeneracies generally occur
et cetera,
in two phases. During the World War II crisis fourth turning, Regeneracy 1 was the election of FDR in 1932.
Or the election of Donald J.
9
Trump.
years before the U.S. entered World War II.
When are we going to get to the
It was during
degenerate?
FDR's inaugural address when he said,
The only thing we have to fear is
The government.
Fear itself.
No,
he
the
was
government.
talking about the Great
I agree with
Depression, not World War II. Folks elected him because he said he would end the Depression. FDR was way less informed about economics than his opponent, Herbert Hoover, but the electorate elected FDR anyway because they were sick of Hoover and the Great Depression that Hoover presided over. The electorate was pissed off and they wanted the Depression to end. FDR said he would wage a war against the Depression
because
as
the
if it
war
were an invading
will get us
foe.
out of the Depression.
Well,
His election
I don't think he
and
meant an actual
inauguration speech
Did he?
regenerated
Did he,
I
Barry?
sort
agree.
of team spirit that had
I
been
already
missing
said this.
from
I
the
told you.
country
That's what I think that we're
during
doing
the
right
Roaring
now.
20s. The Roaring 20s were a third turning era of increasing individuality. A regeneracy regenerates a sense of community or commonality.
We don't
A
have that.
regeneracy regenerates a sense of common mission.
That can't be the election of Donald Trump.
But
then.
sometimes a regeneracy
Wait, what?
splits the nation in two.
That's more like it.
Two teams, each with their own ideas about how to overcome the crisis at hand. Our millennial crisis regeneracy was the 2016 presidential election. Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Both sides were pissed off about the way things were going in the years after the great financial crisis of 2008. Both sides hated their opposing presidential candidate. Donald Trump supporters hated Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's supporters hated Donald Trump.
We don't like Hillary Clinton because she's a murderer.
Each of the two factions began to regenerate a sense of unity that had unraveled during the
Answer your phone, and then maybe people won't die.
And early 2000s.
Nobody has over 120 friends that all commit suicide. What are you talking about? That's not even what I meant when I said she's a murderer. I was talking about Benghazi.
Oh.
But yes, all of her friends mysteriously driving their cars into the river riddled with bullet holes. Yeah, that was a suicide. My bad.
2000s.
Jeez.
When I was growing up in the 1990s, young people almost never talked about politics or political issues.
Correct.
And since the 2016 election, it feels almost as if we Americans are at war with folks whose politics differ from ours. It seems as if there is nothing that can unite us.
I legit... Not another commercial!
It seems as if there is nothing that can unite us.
Okay, I legit do not care about anybody else's politics. Just stay out of my life and stop telling me what to do.
FDR enacted his New Deal programs, trying to put people back to work and get the economy working again. Labor unions gained power, and the American Communist Party gained popularity. The industry versus labor.
Pause.
With all this rhyming, how is it that we had the Spanish flu in the 1918, and then we had COVID in 2020? That's 100 years different. That's a rhyme, right? How does a virus pandemic rhyme? I just realized that. Like, I knew about the Spanish flu. It was one of my
It's not just
big
the Spanish
talking
flu.
points
Wasn't
during
it the
COVID.
Spanish flu and then the Black Plague and then the rats?
No, those are different. No, that was in the 1600s.
Yeah,
The
every
Black Plague.
100 years there's some big disease, pandemic.
Is there something in the 1700s? 1800s? What? I don't know. I don't know
I
any
thought those were
pandemics
the
in
rats.
this
The Black...
The Black Plague was the Renaissance, right? Was
No.
1600s.
Yeah, there was
Because
the
they
Black
got- they had
Plague,
all the
and then
rats.
there was the...
But what happened in
Okay.
1700? What happened in 1800?
Most diseases are spread, though, by rats. But I'm talking about on the ships, not in their
The
disgusting...
bubonic plague? Well, isn't the Black Plague? Isn't the bubonic? I don't remember.
So in the 1800s, your epidemic threats were smallpox, typhus, yellow fever, and scarlet fever.
Well, smallpox...
Yeah, but was it
really
like the Spanish... So the Spanish flu killed 50 million people in America within a year. Far more people than COVID killed. But that was my talking point back in the day, or during 2020, was the amount of people that were on Earth was significantly lower in the 1920s, and yet far more people were killed by the Spanish flu. There was not even planes, there wasn't traveling, there wasn't cars, and way more people died. That's why COVID wasn't that big of a deal. But, it's just interesting that they had also a plague
They always have plagues.
100 years ago, and now we do too. And then 20 years after that, a war happened. I mean, well, that was during a war too. But anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail.
I mean, you could
No.
be like every 5 years.
So
there's
they,
always
but
something,
they
because
talk
there
about
was
the
Ebola,
1900s,
and then it was
bubonic
HIV.
plague.
The 1900s?
That's us talking. Yeah.
Listen, they're always creating.
Which one was the bubonic plague?
That was like the one that was known as Black Death.
Yeah, the Black
the
Plague. Yeah,
giant crow face.
I thought that was
masks
the
that played
1600s.
upstairs.
Well, that's what I thought too.
They always have diseases.
Um,
Y'all, it's not uncommon. The
Oh.
hygiene was next
Here's
to none.
Google. Plague pandemics hit the world in 3 waves from the 1300s to the 1900s and killed millions. The first wave was called Black Death in Europe. That was like 1347, 1351. The second in the
during
1500s.
the Renaissance.
Yeah, but then it was in 1990 is when they first saw the bubonic plague, I guess in San Francisco or something like that.
1990.
Well, this is talking about when it was discovered.
Well, maybe you made a resurgence or something like that. It's not like it's not that. But you're right. Anyway,
yes, you're right.
We don't need to go into it. I'm sorry, I do derailing a little bit.
But you are right. The death toll of the Black Plague was far more severe than COVID.
Yeah, well, Spanish flu was too.
Industry versus labor battle seemed almost like a civil war.
We workers have nothing in common with the employers. We're in a class struggle.
What
this was
year
the
are they
30s?
saying that was?
Yeah.
30s?
In Minneapolis, the Teamsters strike effectively paralyzes the city, and class war threatens as the Yale Club of
Police
Minneapolis
brutality!
leads an
I don't remember
anti-labor march
learning about the 30s very much.
That seems like just
Is the Great Depression, you go straight to World War II as one history.
He's just casually
Georgia,
pointing a gun at
Governor
civilians walking by.
Townley sets up concentration camps for strikers.
Wait, stop. Okay, I'm not sure I remember that either.
I do.
Concentration camps for the people who
For
Not
were
the
people
30s.
striking.
I don't remember them
Not for the
telling us
30s.
that.
I don't remember
in the
hearing.
30s.
I don't remember researching.
I mean,
that
it truly just
No,
seemed like we went from
I-
the Great Depression to now we're in war.
You skip
kind
pretty
of-
much 10 years. You just say Great Depression happened for 10 years, and that's all I remember hearing about in history class was. And then but again, that's because
No.
World War II is way more significant than what happened in the 30s, probably.
I absolutely heard about this because there was a meme going around and I did a little bit of research about it, about how every 15 years the government uses their concentration camps for some culture of people. In the 30s, it was for the strikers versus the unionists. In the 40s, or 40s through 50s, it was for all the Japanese Americans.
Right.
And then it kept going all the way until
then it was
2020 for
probably-
all the
What other
unvaxxed.
concentration camp has happened in America since then? What are you talking
There
about? 15
were,
years.
like, okay.
There hasn't been a concentration camp since the Japs.
Agree
Where?
to disagree. I don't know at the exact address location,
are you
but
thinking
they
about,
threw
like-
the hippies a whole bunch in there.
No hippie was in a concentration camp, Savannah. What are you talking about?
No,
Oh
but
yeah,
you know
it's
what
not a
they did do?
concentration camp. They're just in a barbed wire cage looking thing.
Where? I've never heard of this.
You apparently also didn't hear this.
I don't believe you.
No, what you might be thinking of is like people who had any sort of mental illness. They would like hospitalize those people.
That's another
And then
thing.
they would force
That's not a
sterilize
concentration
them
camp.
and stuff like that. Yeah, so I guess it's language. You might as well be in a concentration camp though.
What's the
We have
difference
all-
between a
I don't know what
concentration
you're
camp
talking
and
about,
fucking
Savannah, at all.
But we
Don't
did.
even-
But we
Early
did.
2000s, you know how many like kids with autism that we institutionalized in what would be considered a concentration camp? You're in there against
No.
your will. It's jail. You get
No.
experimented on with
Your definition of a
medical
concentration camp, I
treatments.
think, is
Yeah.
too broad.
No.
Your
but,
definition of that's too broad.
But we did.
I
lock
understand
up
what
the
you're saying.
Chinese back in the
Japanese.
I mean, Japanese. Who did we lock up?
Japanese.
Yeah,
Americans.
Japanese.
I'm sure Chinese people got thrown in there too because they look Asian.
Well, Asia's a very large continent.
I said
All
they
I'm
look
saying
Asian. They are
is-
Asian. That's what I meant. But but no, okay.
America has a really great habit
A
of
mental institution. I think you're broadening the definition of a
concentration
concentration
camps.
camp. Way
You're
too much.
in a building without your consent. You're forced there against your will.
Okay,
you
so
have
now
medical
you can't.
treatment.
That's a
pushed upon
totally
you.
different reason, and you know it.
I don't.
No.
you don't.
Move
you don't
on.
believe mentally ill people.
I'm not talking about mentally ill. I'm talking about
That's
people
what a
they.
mentally ill hospital is.
No, I was the one who said
No.
that. I said we locked up people who had, I want to say 50s, 60s. Weren't we locking up people who had any sort of mental deficiency or any sort of mental status? We were locking people up, and then that's when we were doing.
Electroshock therapy.
We were doing electroshock
All the
therapy.
experiments. That's the whole.
Yeah.
That's up and coming of medical practices, which are right or wrong. That was
I'm
the
sure
that was the
you know
testing and
they
phasing,
said
but
the
that's
same
not.
thing in
that's
Auschwitz
not a
with
co-
the angel
no.
of death.
I do not sign up for that. No, that is not the same thing.
Okay, no, we were doing experiments on people.
I
so-
agree with that, but that's not a
There's
concentration
a whole
camp of
story
taking
about
groups of
how a
people.
whole bunch of orphanages in New York in the late 90s
Yeah,
to
they were
early
pulling kids
2000s,
out
they
and doing
pulled
stuff to
kids
them.
out and they, got adopted, they disappeared,
I
and they were at these
understand.
institutionalized
But that's not a
medical facilities.
concentration camp.
Okay, there's just a difference in terminology of what you guys are using. A concentration camp in general is someplace where you're locked in.
Those kids weren't locked in.
No, it's a full group of people. Is a concentration camp. It's not just random children.
It wasn't random children. It was people who had diseases that we now, like
Or conditions.
autism. Like, They're not mentally ill. They're not sociopaths. They're not crazy. They're just missing a few things in their head that makes them a little bit not as bright as everybody else.
But again, I don't believe that's putting them into a concentration camp, putting them into a mental illness because we didn't know what autism was.
Well, I'm just saying the Nazis took away those people too.
That we have done things.
Don't unpause.
We have done evil things to people all the time because...
Anyone who we deemed inferior.
Right.
That's what history does in general.
Okay.
Right. We take people and we put them away.
A concentration camp, according to this definition on Google, a place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of a persecuted minority, are deliberately imprisoned in a small area with inadequate facilities. That sometimes into forced labor, and also possibly to await mass extinction. They did not do that with autistic kids. They did not put them to forced labor.
They
did not put them with gay people.
Forced labor, but you don't even realize how many of those people were sex trafficked. Is that not forced labor?
That's not a concentration camp, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I'm just saying, that sounds a lot like...
I agree with you, it's a bad thing. I agree with you, it's stupid. The reasons for it is because medical stuff wasn't around in the 60s like it is now. We had in the last 50, 60 years, a lot of growth in medical knowledge and history. Yeah, there's still a lot more to go, I understand that, but...
There might have been a lot of growth.
Again, I'm saying,
calling... whose lives
I'm talking about for the 50 years before that, comparing it to 50 years before that. I mean... There's been a lot of growth, but I mean, again, to say it's a concentration camp, I just don't think it's accurate. That's all I'm saying.
Dr. Mengele probably said something along the same thing when he was doing his experiments on twins.
Oh my god.
Okay,
You're killing me here, woman.
Meanwhile, actual war was breaking out in Europe, and Americans were further split on whether or not the U.S. should get involved.
Ukraine, Russia, Israel.
The second regeneracy,
we're split on whether we should do this or not.
The second come-together moment came during the spring and summer of 1940. Germany took over France, and Germany began bombing Britain. Imagine getting that news. Germany has taken over France, and now Germany is bombing England. Southern congressmen who hated FDR now agreed with him that the U.S. should prepare for war. This preparation for war began to regenerate the sense of unity that had split because of political disagreements and industry versus labor battles.
Yeah, no offense, but I don't think we can exactly agree on anything these days.
We have not yet entered our crisis's second regeneracy.
Wait, stop. When did he make
we
this
have not
video?
Yet.
This? Mm-hmm. So this is an updated video that he made 2 years ago. So basically he did this 2 years ago. That's the video I've seen, but this is more
Russia
updated.
And Ukraine could
this video I haven't seen anything. This is all new to me. But basically he's taking it from the books. He's not this guy isn't.
It's not his opinion.
This is his stuff. He's just visualizing it. I'm pretty positive.
Well, because I'm just curious if he says we have not entered our second phase of regeneracy yet.
Russia.
Now he did this.
Ukraine.
This is a month ago. This video was posted, so he did it this year.
Okay, but he's doing it based upon what the book says of 1990.
Well, I mean, the book doesn't talk about the 2016 election. He's doing today's.
Okay.
That's what this.
Okay, so it could be Russia and Ukraine. Continuing.
We have not yet experienced our fourth turning's fall of France or Battle of Britain. And obviously, there's no guarantee that we will experience a second regeneracy. But according to the book, fourth turnings unfold in a pattern of events and reactions. And here is how the World War II fourth turning unfolded in relation to these fourth turning patterns.
This is making me hungry.
At some point after achieving its final regeneracy, society experiences a consolidation, the moment when all members of the dominant new community understand that they are engaged in an ultimate struggle for survival. While hopes and fears mount, uncertainty subsides, everything rests on this one outcome. After the consolidation, the community unites in maximum collective energy and efficacy. Most people who haven't yet chosen sides must now choose. Leaders redirect every available institution toward a common goal. During the World War II crisis, our consolidation event was the Japanese attack on our naval fleet at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii.
That's when everybody bought into it and said, let's
The United States
but we
declared
let that
war on
happen.
Japan the next day. 3 days later, the United States declared war on
Pause.
Germany.
How convenient.
Of course we
let it happen. But I kind of agree that we should have let it happen because we needed to get the entire country to stop Hitler, correct? If we didn't go to war, Hitler would have taken all over Europe, and then they would have had the entire all continent of Europe and Asia.
All right, so are you advocating the greater good theory that it's okay to sacrifice some for the greater
I
good?
hate those morality questions.
Yeah. Don't we all do that?
Isn't that what their
We
reasoning
all
was
do
for
that
the
in
COVID
all of
vaccine?
history. Say again?
That was their reasoning for the COVID vaccine and for lockdown.
No. This is different. This is
It'll
war.
help for the
This is
greater
different.
good.
That's not true
We're
at
trying
all.
to save your life.
That's not true
no,
at
you're not.
all.
You're trying to kill us. Freaking
Look at any war of any historical war. Look at any biblical war. You sacrifice your pawns and your minions for the greater good, correct? We've always done that. How is that any different than this?
I hate that. It's like that
I'm not trying to
question
justify it.
If there was a fire, would you save the unborn baby or would you save the toddler?
It's a hard question.
I don't want to answer. I want to save both. I would rather die trying to save
though.
both than live saving one.
Well, it's the train conundrum, right? It's the...
You know, if only people would think about
I forget what it's
sacrificing
called.
themselves
Why-
instead of their
Lifeboat, like
pawns,
when
maybe
you have
life
all
would
the
be
people, you only
better.
have so many people that can get on the boat, and you have to
Well,
figure
that
out,
too.
do you pick the doctor? Do you pick the baby? Do you pick
Well,
the grandma?
there's
or do you
another thing
pick
too.
the-
Look at the Titanic. What's the first thing you do? Women and children. You're
first.
sacrificing all the men
I'm a
for what
trans
reason?
woman, let me on.
The greater good, correct? You're sacrificing all the men for the greater good to protect the women and children, correct?
Yeah, but
How is that different than
No,
this?
the difference is they're willing to sacrifice themselves. When people sacrifice their pawns, you're sacrificing someone else's life. If you were to just sacrifice your own life for the greater good, that's a decision that you made out of your own volition and your morality. Forcing other people into doing that, that's where it's wrong.
Have you heard of the TV show the book, the series, The Man in the High Castle?
Yes!
I love it. It's a great...
We never finished it. I was literally just thinking about that because there was a scene in that movie where she's dead.
The show ends terribly. The fourth season, they just said F it, and they just ended it. I hated it. But the entire series was awesome.
I have to watch that, Mom.
I literally just watched it, the full thing, 6 months ago.
We started watching that years
but
ago.
my point
we
is
only
this.
got through,
My point is this.
I think.
What if that's the reality we go in because we don't do Pearl Harbor? And we get taken over. We've now sacrificed all of the country,
Japanese
right?
and the East Coast
Because
is
we
German.
chose not to act, right? So I'm just saying, it is a conundrum. It's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I'm saying, yes, we knew about Pearl Harbor and they allowed it to happen. But in retrospect, I kind of almost... I'm not justifying it. I'm saying that whole sacrificing the greater good thing, it could be way worse, right?
I would be transparent about it then. If your government's going to, just blatantly allow travesty after travesty after disaster to happen, at least admit it. But hiding it for years and being called conspiracy theorists because you don't trust your government, that's where I'm y'all are a bunch of idiot morons who just watching us die because it, lines your pockets with green money. It doesn't actually help us or make us better. What do they say? A war is a rich man's game, but the poor people suffer and fight.
Yeah.
What did it do for us?
Got
us into a war?
Gave us freedom.
Okay, maybe Hitler and maybe the Allied forces would have stopped him without America. I don't see that happening because we were a very influential part, but maybe they did stop him. So, did we have to get involved and have hundreds of thousands of people die as a result?
So take away World War II. What about the American Revolution?
Okay, that involves literally us.
Oh. And the World War II doesn't involve us?
Okay, that was between us and somebody else. America has a great habit of sticking their nose into other people's conflicts with each other. The Revolutionary War was about between us and Britain. We didn't want them. We said go shoo off, and we fought a war to get away from them. We didn't have 15 billion other countries coming in being like, oh, I'm going to help America. Oh, I'm going to help Britain. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you guys all the weapons you need. I mean, yeah, we had the French help us a little bit.
We weren't a country, then you can't do that.
Marquis de Lafayette with George Washington. But we ended up helping them a little bit later. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
So we sacrificed all those hundreds of thousands of lives for what reason?
Well, they would say freedom.
No, you tell me.
Justice.
You tell me. What did we sacrifice all those lives for?
To stop Hitler.
No, I'm talking about the Revolutionary War.
Oh. Because we wanted freedom.
So you can't say that with World War II? What if we were taken over?
Again, we weren't the ones who were being attacked. We weren't the ones who were in suffrage. See, this is why I don't like those morality questions. Because we watch... I don't want to stand by and watch, like... injustice and suffering happen, but at the same time, like, we were already in the midst of a lot of chaos and turmoil in our own country, but the only way that we were able to somehow get out of that turmoil for ourselves was to go cause more chaos in another country. It's a double-edged sword. It's an oxymoron. It's double jeopardy.
There's no really winning. I agree with you.
But somewhere loses.
But at the same time, again, if we did not join the war when we did, I don't know if America or Britain or anything would be a country. I think it would be all Germany.
Well, I guess that's
therefore,
you'll just never know.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying that it makes you feel better for participating because you're like, well, if we hadn't participated, then this would have happened. But we don't. We also don't know.
Again, I'm not trying to justify the allowing of Pearl Harbor to happen. I'm saying, like, if we didn't go in, this was our cause in order to end a great evil on the earth, right? Or a great problem that we were having. Now, here's again, I personally, I am more of an isolationist, like a liberal. You leave me be, and then I'm talking about society.
That's not liberal. That's a conservative point of view. Leave me be.
No. That's like the libertarians. I was
going to say it's more libertarian.
It's more libertarian. Leave me the F alone. I don't care. I'm not going to get involved ever. But their problem is that's where they stop. They never get involved. So when they get their thumb pushed on them, they kind of just suck it up. But I'm more leave me be. But once you attack me, F you. You're done. I'm gone. And I'm going to make an example of you so that nobody else makes.
That's why you say that Pearl Harbor was.
But I'm just saying, like,
but at the same time, we saw it coming.
So this is how I play video games, though, too, with these situations, to where if you're on, like, you or other people will attack you, or you can attack other people.
It's like Fortnite.
I sit back, I build up everything I need, I build up all my defenses, and I don't mess with anybody. I don't like attacking other people, but when they attack me, I go and I destroy every single thing in their entire town. Or their city, or whatever, how it is.
Yeah, it's Fortnite. You just
you ain't gonna do nothing to me. Fortnite. You're done. Because I destroyed you. But, I mean, again, you can't... I don't think that's a reality, either. I don't think you can be a full isolationist.
I'm not saying
because you get to the point where you just get taken over.
I'm just saying that when it comes to our government, everything is orchestrated to benefit them. If they were transparent, that would be one thing.
But that's why our government, I think, needs a research. I think we need to change our government again.
They lie.
Because our government has been taken over. We're not we the people, and we haven't been that way for a while. It's more of the oligarchy still.
We the oppressed, we the enslaved.
It's those higher up elites. They're not. It's not us anymore.
I think it's they, the elitists.
Yeah, the elitists, correct.
Okay.
Not we the people.
I think we need to reform our government again. To make it more like the founding fathers.
Right, because
I don't know how that works. I don't know how. I just think we need to do it.
Well, because they originally intended that you get involved in government and then you get out and you go back and work in the workplace. But we've turned it into...
See, there's really good arguments against term limits, though, too. I agree with you, but at the same time, I think Will Chamberlain has really good arguments against term limits. Thomas Massey had a couple of good arguments against term limits, too. That I think are valid, and so that's a whole other conversation.
No. Okay, I'm paused.
All hands on deck and all in.
If anyone hears
At the
rumbling,
time of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the American military consisted of less than 500,000 people. After Pearl Harbor, and for the next 3 years, the military grew
Why was everyone so
by
good looking in the
500,000 people every 2 months.
Wait, pause it. 500,000.
Not another commercial.
500,000 people every 2 months. I mean, think about that. And you said all of the guys back then were good looking.
I stand by that.
I watched a TikTok yesterday that was some LGBTQ, ABCD, whatever type person. And it was very interesting that this particular person was talking about, you think you're going to draft me?
Yeah, we were talking about it.
We were literally talking about that earlier because he was eating the caramel apple thing.
Yeah. But he was like, you really think I should have a gun because I'm on so many different meds?
Honestly, that's a legit... I agree with that, though.
Who I think was a... whatever. But anyway, was just talking about the fact that I can't be recruited because...
Yes, you can.
But he's on...
He's not going to be the front line. He's going to be freaking man in a computer.
Great. But his point was, he's on so many different meds. He's like I would be dangerous with a gun.
That's why you wouldn't have a gun. You're sitting in the back.
And then he literally said he showed
papers.
up to a war holding a gun. How embarrassing. Honestly, I completely agreed with him in the video, though. I don't want that dude drafted.
I agree with you.
He would be... But people like him.
Well, what is it now?
But do you think that's why people are, actually going this whole route, that they're LGBTQ, ABC, whatever they are?
This is why I need to be married.
It makes them so that they can't...
no, I think they're mentally ill.
They're legit wackadoodles. But you want to know...
And I know that's going to get me canceled, but I don't care. And I know that's going to cause problems for this channel if that goes on air.
Wait, what?
But they're mentally ill.
Oh, yes, duh.
It's not a play. I want to be trendy, and I have a mentally ill problem, and I was stunted as a child because I was probably diddled.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And therefore, it stunted my sexuality and made me...
instead of taking 1,017 drugs that are probably going to kill you to avoid the draft, there's a very easy way. Be pregnant.
Nah, who cares? We can just kill the baby in the womb anyway.
No.
Two. That's a twofer right there.
Wow.
Kill you and the baby.
No, because then what it still does... Oh, we could talk about this for a long time.
No, because that's a legit way that women escape the draft.
Well, there is no draft for women. What are you talking about? Women don't escape the draft.
Get pregnant again, Mom! It is not that hard.
Okay, then let's go back to the whole thing about what's happened because everybody took the vaccinations. Fertility is not the same.
Savannah, what are you talking about? Women don't get drafted.
Oh.
Well,
you don't get pregnant.
We'll see.
That is not a thing.
We will see what they'll try to do.
Their morals
went out the window.
It is not a thing.
Okay. Their morals went out the window.
They're totally
they don't care.
They're talking about it, but it's not a reality.
It's not a reality yet, but you know what? Their morals are so
It cannot be a reality. I'm sorry. No.
They would do it and not bat an eye.
All right. I'm going to sound like a complete misogynist douchebag. Ugh. Women, no, I'm sorry. They will not survive in war on the front lines. It is not possible. I know all these people talk about these Jewish snipers and all these Jewish... Because women and men are completely different. The savageness of war. The horribleness of war. The craziness of war. No. Men can't handle it. And they have to.
That's why they
Women emotionally will not be able to survive going on the freaking Normandy of D-Day. Men couldn't do it. But they had to.
I know.
I'm adamant. But
I'm sorry.
You're talking,
I'm not,
Barry, I don't want to be there either.
You're talking about the mental aspect of it, and you haven't even addressed
the physical.
You're talking about periods?
Yeah.
Oh, but
no, we're not talking about
periods.
You're not following this conversation we're having. Women will not, and I mean this seriously, will not be able to be on the front lines.
Barry, we don't want to be on the front lines. Hate to break it to you. We'll happily let all of you men go. But
there's not enough men who can go.
No, because they're all transitioning into being women.
And you know what I just read the other day? That some very, very high percentage of military members are actually not even physically qualified to be in the military anymore because...
They've dumbed down
I can do the amount of pull-ups that is required for a girl to get into the military. So I think physically I could probably handle it. But, random side note, if the entire women's congregation in the military all synced up on their periods...
Savannah, I don't believe...
Hell would have come to earth.
I do not believe you can carry a wounded soldier who's 250 pounds.
No, but I would probably try to drag him.
You cannot drag him. I don't believe you can.
Barry, I would try. Listen, I don't want to be
I'm not saying you won't try.
Barry,
I'm saying
I don't want to be on...
What argument are you on? One moment you're saying you're going to drag...
I don't want to be there, but all I'm saying is I personally think that I could probably survive. I don't want to be on the front lines. I don't want to carry a dead dude. I don't want to go do Normandy. But
give
me a sniper rifle. Put me on a roof.
Are you doing the woman thing that me making a generalized statement means it's you anecdotally. I'm not saying that.
I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm playing both sides of this argument.
No, your argument. My argument from the get-go is they will not.
Argument is terrible.
They will not draft women.
You would not be able to. Okay, I think they will try to draft women. I do think so.
God.
But you would not be able to carry enough boxes of tampons with you in your backpack.
I know, that's why you use a menstrual period cup, Mom.
God.
There's silicone and you can pour it out.
No. Oh my goodness.
We're talking about war here
Internet.
on the front lines of mass murdering people, and you're talking about a tampon.
Because how are you going to survive?
Women go through it for a week every month.
What did they do before tampons?
I don't know. That's why they weren't in war.
Yeah, they probably had cloths and stuff like that. It happens. That's not a factor. I don't know what you're worried about because it's your factor now in the 20th century. But it's not a thing. The tampons didn't exist 60 or 70 years ago, right?
Actually,
you know my point. Stop it. Stop being this freaking analytical thing right in this conversation. This is stupid.
I'm just saying.
We are talking about tampons. We are talking about mass murdering millions of people on D-Day, storming the beaches.
But the girls would not be able to do it. So
I'm not.
Hey,
there are some. Sure, I'm saying as a generalization.
Tony McGuire, he played him in.
No, you're talking about Hacksaw Ridge. It wasn't Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
It was
he refused to carry a weapon.
Andrew something.
He couldn't carry
Spider-Man.
a 250-pound guy, but he saved lives. Dang it!
Yes, he could carry that because he's a dude.
He
didn't.
And
women
he
are different.
Them. He drugged them with rope and then lowered them down.
Can we stop this?
I do not believe.
I don't want to.
And this is not against you and your strength.
Barry, I don't want to go there.
You cannot drag a 300-pound dude across.
I know.
100 yards. I don't believe you could do it.
I have a hard enough time dragging Derek. I don't want to go. I can't.
I'm not saying this is not an attack on you.
Barry, I don't care.
This is. You just made the argument.
No, I didn't. I made the one.
I'm gonna replay that argument right here on the post. You're gonna. They've dumbed down.
I can do the
test.
amount of pull-ups that is required for a girl to get into the military. So I think physically I could probably handle it. But random side note.
This dude can't. You can't.
Barry, I made two statements. One, that if all the women's periods sunk up, there would be hell to pay, and that'd be really funny to watch.
That'd be the last thing on everyone's mind.
Oh, it would be the first thing on women's minds, but that's not the point. And then I made the second statement of, if you gave me a sniper rifle, I have better aim than probably 80% of the dudes my age.
And that is totally different than being drafted onto the front lines to be cannon fodder.
I don't want to be drugged into the front lines and be cannon fodder. All I'm saying is, if they did have to draft women,
so
women are pretty precise. I'm just saying.
This also comes down to my point too.
Way
earlier.
to make it work. Ugh.
I don't believe today.
Okay.
I don't believe men will go. I don't believe men will want to go to war like they did in the 40s.
No,
yeah, because there's nothing to fight for.
Because there's not
because the country is so divided.
Men that are strong.
Because they're all women.
I'm not saying it for that reason.
They transition to women. They're gay.
I'm saying more
because men have been encouraged by women to be weak, and so I think because they think that that's what women want. And Savannah, I think you have made absolutely no sense. Like your points are like. Could you please erase all of that?
No, don't erase it. I want that in there.
No, because I don't think you know what you actually said. I think...
Mom, I know exactly what I said, and I stand by it 110%.
She doesn't. You're going to have to play that back for her. Because you're totally saying that I don't want to go, but if they send me, I'll be a super good marksman. How stupid is that? Like, no one's arguing your hunting ability, Savannah, to go shoot
Okay, first of all, it was a joke. Second of all, I stand by it 110%.
Nobody knows it's a joke, Savannah. I think what you just said. Could you please?
May I ask what was the original question that got started this conversation?
She's lost.
I'm not lost.
No, may I ask?
Seriously, stop telling me what I think and what I believe. I want every single inch of that what we just talked about in the video. I still stand by what I believe.
I'm not saying you. I'm asking. What was the original statement that started this?
About Mom said women are going to get drafted.
Okay. And what my claim is, I don't believe that's going to happen.
You don't believe it's going to happen. I think that everyone in DC has lost all morality, so I think that they would try to do it.
So my again back to my thing, I don't believe it's...
No, I just said that if they were to draft women because they don't have enough men to go, first of all, there would be the whole thing that women aren't as physically capable as men.
No, you made the argument that you're super strong and you would be able to haul everybody.
I did not. I literally told Barry, I can't pull a 300-pound guy. I'm not going to be on the front lines. But me personally, I could hold my own. Women as a whole, absolutely not. But not all of us are a bunch of weak lunatics.
I mean this with so much love and respect. As a friend, I don't think you'd be able to hold your own in war.
No, you would not.
What? The mental
Savannah,
side, the physical side?
You are the strongest person that I know.
I agree. You were one of the strongest females I've ever met.
But there is no way in heck
I don't know
that
if you'd be able to.
No. Savannah,
be able to
Savannah,
the physical or the mental? No.
The mental. The mental.
I never said a thing about mental.
That's what I've been saying the entire time.
I never argued that.
I argued that.
I never argued against
my
it.
argument from the beginning was I don't believe the draft will ever happen for women because women cannot mentally. Like you even said this.
The men couldn't do it either. A 19-year-old boy went to World War II for 5 years and he came back looking like a 45-year-old man.
Why do you think suicide is so big in most veterans?
Because it was a
of the mental
horrendous,
toll on them.
awful thing.
Women, I don't believe, can handle that either.
Men can't handle it. Nobody can handle
That's my point.
Nobody should have to handle
exactly
war.
what I've already said.
Because I never argued that. That wasn't my argument.
That was my argument from the entire time. That you were arguing against me.
I wasn't arguing that side of things. I just think that
I'm
they
telling
would
you,
do it.
I'm reiterating that's what I was arguing, was the mental thing. I don't think women...
Barry, I don't want to have to mentally handle that. I don't think men can mentally handle that.
I agree with you. I don't want to handle that.
They should not have to mentally handle it. But guess what? That's the reality we live in.
Correct.
So if the possibility that our corrupt, already evil government decides that they want to go send 18-year-old girls, some girls are going to have to learn how to suck it up and deal with it.
I don't think
if they do that. I'm sure that there were a lot of times in history that we said that our government would not do something because we still have morals, right?
I'm not making a moral argument.
Or else this fourth
I'm making a physical and mental argument. Mine is not morality. Mine is based on physical and mental. That's my argument, that it won't happen.
And my argument is our government is corrupt and they don't give a
You'll send 3,000 women to the front line, and if any of them come back, you won't send any more.
Send any more women?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll probably be all mental. Same with all the men that come back. They were all mental.
But men are expendable in society.
I think they're both intrinsically valuable.
So
but our government probably puts more value on women
in the basic
men.
Biological sense.
Except for the fact that men can do anything that a woman can do. Because remember, men can get pregnant now.
And they do have,
apart from that psychosis. My point, again, men are expendable throughout all of history because one man can impregnate 99 women. One woman can only have one child, give or take. Don't talk about triplets or twins. They can have one child at one time, pretty much once a year. Okay? So justifiably, men are more expendable. Well, you can have you can have 2 dudes and 99 women and repopulate the earth. If you had 2 women and 99 dudes, you ain't repopulating the earth.
You have a lot of sexual abuse, but yes.
So I'm saying biologically and evolutionary, whatever your thoughts on evolution is, that is what I mean by men are expendable. Women aren't.
I agree, but I think that both are still valuable. I think our government says otherwise. I'm just gonna.
I've never said that it's not valuable.
Okay.
I know, but I'm not speaking in the sense of a corrupt government that just hates our guts and would like to see us die because they think there's too many of us.
Yeah, I mean, I can't refute that. I agree with that, but
they think that there's too many in general. So they have
here's
to
what I
cut
think
down on
about
both
women in the military. When your dad had command of all the different squadrons, there was always a female or 2 in the squadron who would be, an aviator who would fly whatever aircraft they were. And they were always the strongest, the toughest girls because they had to be to make it through everything and to have been selected to fly. And then they're in a squadron and they're going on missions. But I have to tell you,
the amount of time she probably got sexually harassed is ridiculous.
And
that is
exactly, and I wonder, Savannah, and those girls, God bless them for wanting to, women's rights or whatever, but I think it was a terrible, terrible decision.
Yeah, you think that anyone? I would never want to go.
When they said it was okay for women to go fly that aircraft on all those missions to go fly into whatever country, because when that, helicopter, jet, whatever, gets shot down and she becomes a POW, prisoner of war. The horrific things that happen to guys are, unthinkable. But what is going to happen to a female? And there is no way.
She's going to be a sex object.
It is beyond evil.
Well, the stats for women who are overseas deployed, like stationed on whatever base, is that 2 out of 3 are sexually harassed.
By their own
guys. I don't think that it's great. I don't think that it's right. But my only thought was, if our government does decide to go send more over there, because women are already over there, whether we like it or not, some of them are going to have to toughen up, because you sort of have to survive. Maybe they come back mentally crazy. I don't know. But I'm saying is, survival of the fittest, suck up or ship out.
I think that there's a difference between fighting in your home country, in your home, in your city, in your town, than going to war overseas being drafted. There is a huge difference between those two. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, because the ones I'm talking about volunteered. They voluntarily decided to go.
Well, the draft technically isn't voluntary.
No, I'm talking about the ones that are in the squadrons that are already out there right now.
We're not talking a Red Dawn situation where the girls have no.
Well, I'm just saying I want to make that clear that is a. I can just hear the arguments of women will protect their own homes. I agree and understand that, but that's different than going to the draft. I just don't think.
Yeah, I
we
don't
as a society
want anybody.
I
don't want any girl or woman to do that, to go voluntarily put themselves in that situation.
Sorry.
It's horrendous.
That was a very long tangent.
Yeah. We'll see how much of that actually goes in.
All of it should.
Back up 5 seconds.
I already did.
For the next 3 years, the military grew by 500,000 people every 2 months. All hands on deck and all in.
Mm-hmm.
We have not yet experienced our consolidation. We have not yet experienced this crisis's Pearl Harbor moment. And to be clear, it's not guaranteed that we will experience a Pearl Harbor event. This book presents us with a historical theory, not math. The climax of a crisis determines whether the new order will or will not prevail against its enemies and obstacles. Will we win the war? The World War II crisis climax came in a trifecta of events, beginning with the Allied invasion of German-held Normandy, France, aka D-Day, on June 6, 1944. Then the Battle of the Philippine Sea 2 weeks later on June 19th and 20th, 1944.
In the Battle of the Philippine Sea in 1944, naval air scored its greatest triumph over Japanese carrier aircraft. Now remembered as the Marianas Turkey Shoot, Navy gunners on ship and in the air, and in the space of 1 day, shot down 400 attacking enemy planes. Japanese naval air was ruined.
The U.S. Fifth Fleet defeated Japan's carrier-based Air Force.
And
the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
That's also what we were talking about earlier.
War with grave certainty.
Atomic bombs.
We have not yet experienced our crisis's D-Day, Battle of the Philippine Sea, or Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, nor is it inevitable that we will.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm just saying, if they're going to draft women, one thing that I think that they might be able to do,
a clear
fly.
victor emerges. Victors are rewarded and enemies punished. Nations or empires are forged or destroyed. Treaties are signed and boundaries redrawn. Peace is accepted, troops repatriated, and ordinary life begins anew. One large chapter of history ends and another starts. In a very real sense, one society dies and another is born.
When's ours gonna die?
After this crisis.
After the World War II crisis,
within the 10
the
years.
United States emerged as the world's preeminent power. We got the United Nations and the World Bank.
Oh, that lovely little peach.
There is no guarantee that the United States will emerge victorious from our current crisis, but I've got my money on her. After the World War II crisis resolution began the post-war high, our history blocks first turning. rock and rollin' Corvettes. Lots of home movie cameras, too. In America's first crisis, she fought for her independence against a global power and founded a new nation. In America's second crisis, she fought to keep the nation together, and in doing so, freed her slaves. In America's third crisis, she saved her citizens from impoverishment, helped free Western Europe, and secured a system of global trade with her allies, becoming the most powerful superpower in human history.
Pause.
And in America's...
Pause.
That was my point of earlier, what he just said. He basically summed it up. We became the global, basically, police superpower. The global good, again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm saying, like, in order, that's why we entered the war. And so, again, that's like one of those catch-22s, like, but anyway, that's my point.
America, we'd love to just stick our nose.
But again, if we didn't, somebody worse might have be doing what we're doing. Right? And so it's like, there's no good answer. Mm-mm. You can paint America in a bad light, but you can also paint it in a great light. It's just...
yeah, well, hard. Right now it's being painted in a really, really bad light. Nobody's particularly happy with us right now.
I think,
actually, we're not happy with our government. I think you're kind of
just looking at it only from one angle, too. America, as a whole, I believe is a good thing for all of humankind.
We just have a few hundred people in DC that are a bunch of retards.
But again, I think you're just looking at it more of just a micro. I'm thinking macro. The greater. I understand there's a lot of problems, but I think we are the greater good for the entire world, and I mean that literally. And so I don't know, but anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and the world has looked to the U.S. as that.
But it still does,
and that's. Where
right now they're laughing at us.
As much as everyone says they hate America, they don't.
Well, everybody wants to be here.
They love us when they're attacked as well.
Well, they love us when we pay their bills with a cool $6 billion.
Have you seen that TikTok video of the rest of the world's about to find out why we don't have free health care? Have you seen that?
Because we pay for theirs!
It's a meme after the Israel attack or whatever. October 7th was, and us potentially going to war to go and or fight Russia even, or fight Iran, there's a meme of like battleships and all this stuff that somebody posted and said, and the caption was, the rest of the world's about to find out why America doesn't have free healthcare. It's because of our amazing defense and our amazing military, that's why it's the global power. I mean, the only reason why, and I've told this people at the beginning, is from a long time, why is it that Europe countries have free healthcare? It's because they don't pay for defense. We defend them. That's why Canada doesn't have a defense, doesn't have an army. They have an army, they don't have an army. I mean, if anybody attacks Canada, we're there. I mean...
oh, yeah, don't you know?
So, that's why they're able to have the luxuries. But anyway.
That's why they're a bunch of pacifists.
Fourth turning. Perhaps she's here.
I think that's it.
Dang. Well, that was sure interesting.
Definitely eye-opening just to think about.
But going back, do we think that the second part of our regeneracy is Russia versus Ukraine or Israel versus Palestine?
It could be this debacle right now with Israel. But then again, in my opinion, I think a lot of the Israel stuff right now is a lot of biblical stuff.
Mm-hmm. That makes it even worse, Barry.
Well, I'm just saying that's a whole nother can of worms. That's not part of this. I'm trying to separate it a little bit for the sake of this video and the sake of this conversation. But like,
well, how can you separate that? Because that's history. That's
in this context right now of us with this fourth turning theory. I'm trying not to have the context of Revelation.
Well, it's almost like the resolution is Revelation. Like that is.
Wait, do we think... Whoa, wait. Okay, has anyone seen that video on YouTube that talked about, like, it laid out all of the different, like, all the parallels in the Bible from creation to Revelation and how they all arc over and how, like, it's this giant thing and everything works out exactly like that. And about how... You know, how the world is 7,000 years old and then there's the 7 years of tribulation and how everything lines up exactly. This mentioned 4 different times that this fourth turning, like, cycle has happened. Could the fourth one be the final cycle? And like what you just said, Revelation truly is the resolution.
You're looking at it. You're looking at it too little. This theory only does the Western world. And it only goes back to the 1600s that they have actually done this to. So it was 1650.
It wouldn't be that hard to keep going back.
The world was a lot different back then. The Western world wasn't the Western world. During the Renaissance is kind of the beginning of the Western world. What's before then? It was usually done by empires, Rome, Alexander the Great way back then. I mean, you can go on and on. You can't. So those crises don't have a good history. When like...
Are you saying because they didn't write it down or because
Correct.
They were actually having...
Or they were destroyed.
With, like, aliens that were fallen angels and they didn't write anything down because everything... We had free electricity.
Well, no, things were destroyed. Look at Alexandria. You know about Alexandria.
Library?
Yeah. Now it was all lost. All that history and all that arc was all lost because it was destroyed by the Roman Empire, right? I mean... How many that happened before that? So I mean, and then after, who knows?
Well, that's why this is called the fourth turning, as compared to like
again, this is just Western world
or whatever turning. So they only went back.
Well, no, it's the fourth turning means the generations. Every 4 generations, then it starts anew and repeats that cycle. It's not 4 times that happened. For us in America, it is our 4th time.
That's what I thought it was the 4th time.
Yeah, in America, this is now the 4th time.
So the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the World War II, Great Depression.
And now here, present day.
But you're saying, when they say fourth turning, you're saying that in 80-year period,
Correct.
There's 4 generations.
There's 4 turnings.
4 turnings. Within,
there's 20 each turning is a 20-year span. That's 1 turning, 2 turning, 3 turning, 4 turning. 4th turning is always the worst. It's the crisis, and then it'll get better.
Which is where we are. Yay.
Well.
Great.
I don't know. It just, again, with everything that's going on right now, in about 15, 20 years, it'll go back to a high.
Well, it's
a new society will be born, is what he said.
It's interesting that all of this goes along with everything that the World Health Organization has, said that's going to happen. And, 2030 is supposed to be a big year that they want everybody to,
Didn't they say by 2025 we're not supposed to have any
So
gas cars?
No, but
electric by then.
Biden signed the bill of 2035. They can't make any more gas-powered cars. It'll get vetoed by the next president. So, because electricity cars won't work. It can't work. They're already showing the problems right now that it's not working. Especially in the winter months, it's not working either.
Oh, Texas could tell you that every time we have our freaking snowmageddon, and all of our wind turbines freeze.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's again. Why? I think it just this actually does go really well with the Israel stuff because Israel, what's happening right now, and what we're seeing with all these moronic college kids all across the world, not just America,
maybe they do.
Who are supporting actual terrorists. I mean...
Actually, I take back what I said. We should send them to war. Maybe that'll make them appreciate all the luxuries that they have here as they eat their little caramel apples with their Starbucks macchiatos in a beautiful capitalist world where all you have to go do is drive 5 minutes down the road and you go to a Walmart where anything you want is there.
Well, again, most of these people that follow this and support this have no real struggles in life.
They just
That's
have
again,
mental
I've said this
illnesses.
before, is the transgender thingy and all this is made up crisis because they need something to
they find to cry about
to fight for,
better.
And it's not real problems.
No, it never is. They need something to cry about.
No third world country has a transgender identity crisis.
Because they're killing them.
They're struggling to eat.
Right.
Or they're killing them. There's that.
No. There's no In a third world country, there is no identity crisis.
They gays off the roof just because they're
No, it's
gay.
not a worry for them.
No, the issue is, I think, when you're trying to have bare bones survival needs met, like food, then you're not going to be focused.
You don't worry about your sexuality.
Correct.
Right, you're going to be going, where the heck do I get food
Correct.
for the day?
Yeah, but the few who do go into their sexuality get thrown off of roofs.
Well, in Muslim countries. In Gaza,
so it is
Palestine.
ironic that
and they're trying to
ironically,
spread that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just
The
saying
Jews are first, but the gays
Quran.
are next.
Again, any of these queers for Palestine, if they went and stepped inside
They would kill them in 2
Palestine,
seconds.
they'd be killed within 10 days of entering Palestine.
And probably the reason that we have the issues that we have in America is because life in America is just has gotten so easy.
Correct.
That, I mean,
and that's a part of this.
It's not the
I believe
government
that's a part of
giving
this
you money
turning.
for doing nothing.
It's
the good
the same.
times, weak men,
Exactly.
weak men, hard times,
We are at
strong
weak
men.
times.
Repeat.
That's what causes the crisis. Weak men have now causes the crisis, and the weak generation, which was, not against you. It's Shannon. It's your generation, which is causing where we're at right now. Because you're the ones that are right there, and it's a generation right before you that messed it all up. The millennials are apparently supposed to be the heroes because we're of age to actually take control and take back society. And so, and Gen Z is basically, you're called the forgotten generation. You're going to be the ones who kind of, we're just here. And you're the ones that start in a better time, but with knowledge of actual hardship. And so, but.
Well, this is.
Anyway.
Been so enlightening.
But again, there's always a time to where...
We're almost at the resolution. All you have to do is figure out
again.
The second half of
That's the important part.
We have to make it through, 5, 8, 10 years, 12 years?
Yeah,
again, it's not an exact science on the math, is what it, or not. It's not exact math, but yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like this book came out. I'm looking at it on Amazon. It came out in July of this year.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one he just went over just now.
Right.
That was the updated one that he just that's coming out now. But it's Generations is the first one, and then it's the fourth turning. I think in like the 90s, and then this new one he just came out. He has Hal. That's the guy that's still alive. The Strauss died.
Yeah, Strauss died.
Hal has a really good interview with Tony Robbins. It's like an hour and a half. I watched it. It was really, really good. Just a good sit-down interview with Tony Robbins. And he talks about all this stuff, in this.
Wait for that to get purged off of YouTube.
No, it's there. I mean, it won't get purged off YouTube. But anyway, so any final thoughts, camera, audience?
Good luck. I hope we make it. Hope we survive. Hope to see you on the other side.
We will make it as a society.
Not everybody.
That's true, but as a society.
Not everybody. I hate to break it to you, but our crisis or their crisis in the past was World War II. A lot of people died. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's gonna make it through this. That's just reality.
That's unfortunate.
Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor.
I think you're missing the point, though, to give people hope in the midst of this. Though,
oh, right. We're supposed to have hope.
Correct. In that,
you know what my hope is?
This is the cynicalness of Gen Z and this generation is there is no hope because...
No, my hope is that our resolution is the rapture.
Well, again, that's a whole other can of worms. Again, I think 2033. I think 2033.
Great.
I believe the Antichrist is around right now.
Okay, everyone, make sure you get all of your crap done in the next 10 years so when we get, that call that we can go home... all your stuff is done on Earth.
I don't think that's going to happen either.
Well,
I think the pre-trib has no actual biblical references.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
I think it's a made-up theory that by American Christians to make us feel better about not being suffering.
Yeah, nobody else had it easy, so why do we think that,
Job didn't have it easy, right? I mean...
Yeah, Satan took everything except his nagging wife.
And who allowed that to happen?
God.
Oh... I mean, he did get his wife still. He never got lost her.
Oh, yeah. Because her telling him, you should just roll over and die. That was really...
No, I understand what I was saying. He never lost his support,
She was not supportive! She literally tells him, you should just curse God and die. Then she laughed.
As a bachelor and somebody who isn't married, I believe that there is a huge support in a marriage.
Not for Job.
Absolutely.
Not
for Job's wife.
I don't know. There's obviously something there that support. I'm just saying, like,
no,
that's what I looked at as a bachelor, I guess. Maybe it's because I'm a bachelor.
No, go look at
like
Ruth and Boaz if you want supportive, like, spouses to each other.
I'm not saying it was
not
great support.
Job.
I'm saying there was still some support.
Yeah, it was support to push him off a cliff.
I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say here.
Okay, you want to know about the only
I'm trying to be
why...
somewhat, anyway.
Okay, so here's what I think. Here is what I think. This is the hope that I think people have. So this is a book of the Bible that I decided I was going to start memorizing about a month ago. It is Psalms 27. And in the whole craziness of this world and all of this stuff and all the evil that's going on and like everything, what's the look for?
I'm waiting for you to finish.
Okay, so I just think these are good verses to remember. The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked advance against me to devour me, it is my enemies and my foes who will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble, he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. Hold on, there's only a couple more verses. Then my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me. At his sacred tent, I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. Hear my voice when I call, Lord. Be merciful to me and answer me. My heart says of you, seek his face. Your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not reject me or forsake me, God, my Father. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. Do not turn me over to the desire of my foes. For false witnesses rise up against me, spouting malicious accusations. Last verse. I will remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. So I think in all of this, I mean, the hope is...
That is our hope right there. You can't get any better than that.
The hope is that there is a Savior who died for all of us, that if we accept his gift of salvation, then regardless of what's happening in the world, we have a hope that we have life after whatever happens on this earth. And who the heck knows what's going to happen?
But it must get worse to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the end times, it has to get worse.
That's what I mean.
It gets worse.
It gets worse and worse. It gets pretty much bad, and then it becomes really better.
Right.
Yeah, and better is heaven. That's
your
the best.
enemies and foes are going to come after you. Armies will besiege you. War is going to break out. But even then, my heart will not fear. Even then, I will be confident.
As people dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We cannot get any better than that. I say you ended on the word of God because I have to pee.
Did you really just say that?
I did.